Of course. Enjoy your coffee. Careful, it's hot.
Thanks.
Patrick Klepek, let's talk about the Super Bowl this year. You and I both watched it. I thought it'd be fun to just talk about some of the ads on the Super Bowl, but real quick, the game itself. What a game! I'd say it was like 80% not super, not that much happened, and then like the final, 60 minutes was some of the most incredible football I've ever watched. What was your experience watching this year's Super Bowl, Patrick Klepek?
The biggest moment happened before they even kicked the opening kickoff, David. For 4 years now, I have been doing something with my oldest daughter where I bet $50 based on the coin flip. And this child of mine, smart, rambunctious, interesting, curious, cannot, for the life of her, pick the goddamn coin flip correctly. 4 years in a row. Busted. Not going to college, kid. You got to figure out this coin flip. And finally, this year, heads prevailed. Coin flip came up. It's a happy Klepek household. Like everyone is cheering.
And do you actually place a bet somewhere on this? Like,
yeah,
how do you?
FanDuel's where I do my I should be clear. Like when I do bets, it's so funny because I recently converted a neighbor that I watched a lot of my football games with to like sign up for FanDuel. He's like, you get so excited and animated when like things are happening. And he's like, well, how much are you betting? And I was like, $1. He's like, I'm like screaming when a field goal is missed. And he's like, how much money do you have on the game? And I'm like, $250, buddy. $250? No, $2.50.
Wow.
It's the same, but I like betting in the same way that I like fantasy football. It just adds like extra emotional stakes to games that I maybe aren't interested in because of the team I root for. But no, the game was it was a very boring first half. Very exciting.
Before you get to that,
Yeah.
here's a pro tip for you, Patrick Klepek.
Yeah.
Here's what I learned in gambling school.
Yes.
If you're betting on the coin flip or something that happens every year, then if you lose, then the next year double it, the amount that you bet, and then just keep doubling it until you win. And that way,
I love this.
That way, you're not losing any money. You see, so
damn. That's impeccable logic.
And there's zero way that plan could go wrong.
David, in some way, I had one of my favorite football podcasts. They did a like prop bets, like sort of like thing for the Super Bowl. And so I listened to that, took notes on which ones I thought were like fun or interesting. And so I had FanDuel on my iPad, and then I had written down and so I'm trying to find all these prop bets, and then like FanDuel came, like I think they legally have to do this. It's like with a notification, it's like, sir, and it was labeled like reality check. It's like, you've had the app open for 30 goddamn minutes. Like, are you okay?
Wow.
Like, I'm just reading my notes.
Yeah. Anyway, the game itself, you were about to say.
Yeah, the game was really exciting second half. It's these are two teams that have extremely good defenses. There is offense and defense in football, but the one that's the most exciting and the one that people want to watch is the part where they throw the ball. And that wasn't happening as much in the first half of the game. And so it was a really exciting defensive game if you like watching like that part of it. But even for me, someone who I feel like I can appreciate the game on that level for as much as I know about it and as much as I watch of it, was excited when they finally started whipping the ball around in the second half. And I like it when number goes up, David, and the number finally started going up.
There's some really insightful decoding TV analysis for you. We like when ball move downfield.
And number go up.
And number go up.
That's the analysis.
That's the analysis. Strikingly done. All right. Let's talk about the ads of the Super Bowl, Patrick Klepek. Now, I think that I guess I remember a time when the ads at the Super Bowl were interesting.
They suck now. Just like broadly, like I'm sure we'll talk about ones that were like okay or fine or pretty good. But I think what you're getting at is that relative to when we had it good, like we're talking like 90s, 2000s, they tried. They took swings, and sometimes real bad. You shouldn't have taken that swing. But there were real risks happening in the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
And There, you just don't see
Now,
that anymore.
agreed 100% with everything you said. Now, I do want to say that when they took swings, the best case scenario outcome of that swing is every single white person you talk with says "What's up" when they meet you for 18 months after the ad airs, right? Like, so I'm not saying like culturally it's necessarily a net positive, right? But I am saying, say what you will about the tenets of Budweiser, at least it's an ethos. Like,
Mhm.
at least something, of interest occurred, right?
Yes.
At least like creatively they took some chances, right? And I would say most of the ads are pretty uninteresting these days. I actually think this batch was better than last year's ads, but most ads lean so heavily on the use of celebrities.
Yeah.
Like, just, hey, remember, this person from there, and it feels like the safest choice possible, right? It feels like I can see the pitch deck, where it's like, hey, we should get Jennifer Aniston, we should get David Schwimmer and Jennifer Aniston in this Uber Eats ad because people like Friends. No one does. No one dislikes Friends.
It's better than a
And
QR code staring at me in the face, which was last year, right? That was like
but
I
that
think.
was cool. I thought that was cool. I thought that was a cool ad. Anyway, but yes, there's an extremely heavy reliance on celebrities, and mostly in extremely boring and uninteresting ways. Like,
Yeah.
just designed to activate the part of your lizard brain that says, "Hey, I recognize those people."
Pointing your finger at the screen,
Yes.
just the.
So, huge bummer, with one exception. And that is, I really liked CeraVe's ad that made use of Michael Cera.
Human skin is my passion too,
The fact
David.
that
I
it
don't know if
opens with human skin is that is just amazing. That's amazing. They're getting a lot of credit right now. Ogilvy put together the ad campaign. They're getting a lot of credit for doing something that actually is legitimately viral, and I think they deserve it because it's like most interesting use of a celebrity during the Super Bowl, I thought.
Well,
But
because it's all stunt casting to a certain degree, right? To
right,
sort of grab your attention with a familiar. But I don't know that. Does Michael Cera, like, do people really know who? You know what I mean? Like, I know he's like an actor, but he's not top of mind these days. He's not. I feel like Tina Fey, Jennifer Aniston are a different level of stuff. Like, that's why I think what makes it so good is like they didn't get Michael Cera because what people are going to do is point at the screen and go, "That's Michael Cera." It was a
right.
funny idea.
Yes.
That, like, it started there. It was someone in a room going, "Well, that's pretty funny."
Yeah.
I don't know that we could do that. Like, I feel like someone got high and was like,
Yeah.
"Sarah, Michael Cera," and that, like, that's a
Right.
fun.
Exactly. Yeah. That gif of Antonio Banderas leaning back and like just being really happy with himself.
Yes.
He's like, when somebody thought like, I've got Michael Cera. His name. Now, it is a little bit of a catch-22 because at the end they need to then explain that Michael Cera did not actually create CeraVe because CeraVe is actually like a serious, or CeraVe. It's actually a very serious dermatologist recommended brand of skin cream and lotion and cleansers. So they had to be like, oh, it's actually not Michael Cera that did this, thus undercutting the entire ad. But I think they managed to thread the needle there.
I think so too.
Yeah. So anyway, that I did like. Another highlight, Google always delivers the high quality ads these days. Like, uh, I think I have a lot of issues with Google as a company,
Sure.
but their advertising is among the best at showing how technology can improve your life. And they had like all of their ads like make me cry. And their ad this year was about somebody using an AI feature called Guided Assistant. Somebody who had vision impairment using an AI feature called Guided Assistant, and like how he experienced life through this app, and it was amazing. It was amazing. So like those are a couple of highlights that I would say. And I wrote about like a bunch of trends I observed over at my newsletter, decodingeverything.com. Patrick Klepek, what were some of the things you observed about this year's Super Bowl ads?
Well, I think I had noted as we were prepping for this a similar trend line that you had, which is I know it's not new, and especially if you've been watching trailers on YouTube, a version of this has already existed, but we're just not showing trailers anymore. We're just showing a highlight reel of a trailer. Like when I'm excited
Like for
for
movie trailers like Deadpool 3 or Planet of
right.
the Apes movie, it's not even it's not even a trailer. Movie studios used to have the decency to buy a 30 or 60-second spot at the Super Bowl. And now they're like, have why buy a 60-second spot when we can have half the time at half the price?
Well, I think it's $7 million per 30
Right.
seconds.
Yeah.
It was the going rate for the Super Bowl this year, and
Yeah.
so I don't know if it's any cheaper to air it on the Nickelodeon segment. Like I don't know
Mhm.
how the cost changed from there, but yeah, I mean they're probably not wrong that like ultimately you're trying pointing people towards a YouTube channel where they subscribe and like I understand how we arrive at this spot as maybe being the best use of the money and value. But it still sucks. Like it's fun to experience like the thrill of a well-crafted
Yes.
trailer with a group of people. Like 'cause
Right.
I usually only
Yeah.
experience that in a movie theater, but in a movie theater, I'm
You
shutting
ca
the fuck up. Like I'm at a movie theater. Like whereas to the Super Bowl, everyone's talking and it's loud. Like when the Quiet Place one came up, like we're all like sharing stories about like, what it was like to watch that movie in a theater and how people actually were quiet in a movie called The Quiet. And that was a fun. And then it ended. It was like, oh well, I guess we'll look the trailer up at halftime or something. And we just never got back around to doing it. But part of that's just my affinity for the art of a good trailer. But yeah, that bummed me out each time because it just felt like if people haven't experienced it when you go on YouTube frequently these days, if you're just going to watch a trailer for a movie, you like, here's a trailer for Deadpool. They show you a short version of the trailer promoting the trailer that you're just about to watch in the same exact video, and they just transplanted that concept to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It drives me up a wall.
I agree. It's quite irritating, and it's not even like the trailer you watch online is like a shortened version, or sorry, a longer version of what you saw at the Super Bowl. It's like a whole different
Yeah.
thing. It's like a whole different piece of content, basically. So, uh, yes, if you're going to show me a trailer, show me a whole thing that's been custom made for that time slot. Instead, it felt like these were like 15-second slots.
Well, it's the only one
That
that worked for me was the Twisters one, because what does that movie need to sell? Yo, we got more Twisters. Like they're in the movie. It's like, all right, well, I don't really need to know a plot line. Like if they're making the movie Twisters, I sort of guess I get what you're going for once you show me the cool Twisters on screen. So that one I felt like effectively managed to work within the form, whereas a Planet of the Apes or a Deadpool, like they have
yeah.
jokes and like drama to set up, and it doesn't really work
Yes.
within with that
The
construct.
premise of Twister is shockingly simple, or Twister is a shockingly simple.
Twister, yeah. There's more
It's
this time.
what if we had the director of Minari make a sequel to the 1996 film Twister? That's
I,
really
you know what? I feel like someone that's just like someone spinning a wheel in the timeline.
Yes, that's
I mean, I hope the movie's great. Like I adore the original Twister. Like it's one of my all-time favorite disaster films. But just that being like, look, take the check. I hope the movie's good too.
right. It's just, can you think of two movies? What is a movie that is as different from Minari as possible? The sequel to Twister would be one of the things that I would put on that list.
I agree. I agree.
Anyway, yeah. So overall, kind of a bust in terms of good ads. It felt like a lot of the references that happened were ancient.
Yeah.
Like there was a reference to twins. You got Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger together. That movie's like over 30 years old. There were do you remember for a long period of time when Hollywood used to make original movies?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
There
mm-hmm.
was a couple decades where double or twin movies would come out. Armageddon and Deep Impact,
Mm-hmm.
Volcano and Dante's Peak, it felt like we were watching that happen during the Super Bowl, but with the ads. There were two separate ads making fun of how celebrities talk. There was this Arnold Schwarzenegger State Farm ad talking like about how Arnold doesn't pronounce the ERs at the end of his sentences or at the end of his words. And then Christopher Walken was imitated in a BMW ad that I actually really liked. There were also two separate ads that hinged on Irene Cara's Flashdance What a Feeling,
Yeah, that's pretty specific.
which is a really old song. Like I mean, yes, it has staying power, but I'm just like, what's great about the Super Bowl is Patrick Klepek, you and I are now aging into the demographic that the Super Bowl is trying to appeal to.
It
Like
is, yeah.
with the
No,
with the
yeah.
halftime show
Everything
and
is very millennial coded. It's like
right, right.
that's what the halftime shows
Yeah.
are now. It's all like, oh, remember junior high, high school, college,
Right.
like depending on
Yes.
where you fall in like that, like kind of millennial age bracket. And it's like, yeah, this is all just aimed at us now. Okay, I'm in that prize demographic.
There is a Threads user named JV Last that wrote, quote, watching that absolutely banging Usher show, I finally understood the boomers. Forcing the rest of America to celebrate the cultural touchstones of your youth is amazing. No wonder why they never want to let go, end quote.
I know that's meant to be funny, but there's an incredible amount of truth in there as
Yeah.
well.
He also says, it was so good, my 7-year-old was annoyed by the whole thing until he turned to me during the halftime show and asked, is that Tej from Fast and Furious? End quote. Anyway.
There's a moment in the halftime show where Usher takes his shirt off. You know, I think to brag, like, look, I still look pretty good in my 40s. At which point, my 3-year-old took that as a sign that she should take her shirt off,
Mhm.
and began to parade around the living room that we were watching the game in. I was like,
Mm.
Elizabeth, put your shirt back on. It's like, no, he took his shirt off. I'm like, I can't argue with that logic.
You
Will you
cannot.
put Will you
You
put it
cannot.
back on when the show's over? She's like, yeah. I was like, okay, fine. I'll accept that. I'll accept that as a victory.
Uh, the other thing I want to mention is, did you notice that Temu aired the same ad approximately 83 times during the course of the show?
It was a bad ad too. Like
Yeah, it's a terrible
nothing.
ad.
Like
Terrible ad.
most of the time, we would spend that time explaining to somebody who didn't see the previous one because they got up to get a drink or a snack or a beer or deal with a child. Like, what's this ad for? It's like sort of like Amazon. Do I need to go there? Probably not. It's like then roll the ad 6 more times.
There's like a meme going around this morning of how, like, wait, did you spend, like, the person meant to spend $8 million, but they accidentally spent $80 million?
Yeah, I think
Like,
I saw that
oh
one.
shit, I
I saw that
accidentally
one.
added a zero onto the wire transfer. You know, like,
Mm-hmm.
otherwise, why would you have bought like 6 Temu ads during the course of the broadcast?
I have no. It's not like they change. You know, it's one thing if they were telling like, hey, we're gonna buy a bunch of spots. We're gonna tell a story with these ads, and the reason we're showing them multiple times is to connect. Like, oh, you're watching the big game, and this is one of the rare times where people don't want to pay money to skip ads. Like, it's genius. And instead, they just aired the same orange colored commercial over and over again, and it was very strange decision. I'm not sure. I'm
It's a
not sure they quite accomplished the mission.
I think it's a disastrous ad. Like, it's a disastrous you know, we'll see how good it does for them. But this felt like a really bad way of lighting, you know, $30 million on fire. I will say, by the way, Eric Deggans just posted that CBS finally released Super Bowl ratings,
Yeah,
and it was the most watched telecast in TV history,
yeah, that
with an
sounds about
average
right.
of 123.4 million viewers, up 7% from 2023. More than 200 million viewers watched all or part of it across networks, and 120 million on CBS alone, also a record. So,
I think there is as much like you ask the average person, what do they want out of media, and it's reflected in on-demand convenience, wherever I want to watch it. But at the end of the day, like people do hunger for a reason to be around other people. And I do think that will be one of the great struggles of like, how do we resolve or do we not resolve this tension between a desire for community? Like that's a huge reason the Super Bowl is popular. It's an excuse like a wedding or other big event to get together with people. And like the football part of it is like secondary, like third, fourth, fifth from any, like depending on a lot of people going to Super Bowl parties don't give like a hoot who's winning or losing.
right.
It's just a reason to get together with people. And those moments are so few and far between these days that I think that's a huge reason why the Super Bowl just gets bigger and bigger because we have less of these moments in our lives. So you just end up dumping that weight onto the Super Bowl even more. because there's just so few instances where you can justify sending out like an Evite to get people to come over for a thing that isn't a birthday or some other special event. And, you know, I wish we had other ways of making stuff like that happen. Like, it works out for me because I really like football, but it's too bad that we don't have more of those.
You know, Patrick Klepek, that's a beautiful explanation and reflection on the atomization of our culture and the endemic loneliness that comes with our modern smartphone-driven society.
Mm-hmm.
So all that's true, and also Taylor Swift. I'm going to put that out there.
Yeah,
So
doesn't help.
that everything Patrick just said, and Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
I would argue.
the NFL. The NFL. Yeah, they just need. They already had enough, and then Taylor Swift showed up. So
Yes, indeed. Well, I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl, and obviously Taylor Swift is dating Travis Kelce. I, for one, am glad that something nice has happened to Taylor Swift. I mean, she really.
Truly, I mean, like,
she really
definitely
needed
not
a,
on one of the all-time heaters of a pop star over the last 15, 20
minutes.
years.
Yeah. She really needed a win, and I'm glad she got one. So, anyway.
Rooting for the underdog. That's what we do on this podcast.
Hey everyone, David Chen here. Thank you so much for watching that video from Decoding TV. If you want to get an audio version of the show, all you got to do is go to podcast.decodingtv.com. And if you want to support what we do, get ad-free episodes of the podcast and also bonus episodes of the podcast, go to decodingtv.com and become a paid member. Of course, you can also like and subscribe for more. We appreciate it. Thanks. See you later.